which one of these, so there's the 5 of them: words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, physical touch. Which one do you think is like, is there for you one that's just like, it doesn't do anything for you?
Receiving gifts, for sure.
Great.
Yeah, receiving gifts is just because, I mean, I enjoy getting gifts, but I enjoy getting my own.
This is breaking my heart, y'all.
It just, like I said, it's just, I like to get my own thing. I know exactly what I want, and I usually get disappointed if.
Yeah. What if I just give you a gift of cash? Then you can buy your own thing.
Yeah. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of 317 Wellness Podcast. Today is going to be a good one because we're going to be talking about the 5 love languages.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and just get into it. Let's talk about this book. Who is this by?
This is by Gary Chapman. I'm sure if you have done any like premarital counseling or any kind of counseling, you've probably heard of this book. It's definitely one that's recommended by a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So when you start, I mean, it's good for like relationships, but I think specifically for marriages is when it's really talked about. So
yeah. So I think we read this one last year, a couple years ago, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was a few years ago. I mean, it's just something good to talk about with your spouse. A good, it's got good stories in here. It's not just like, here's information. He actually talks about stories of couples that he's counseled and things like that. Yeah. So it's entertaining.
I didn't realize how real this was. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't think that we had love languages that were just meant for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And after we read this book, it made me realize, like, oh crap, we do have things that we both like, mm-hmm. that each other likes. So I think that this has been very helpful for us in our marriage.
Right.
And I definitely recommend this. So let's talk about the 5 love languages right now. First one is words of affirmation.
Then we have acts of service.
Receiving gifts.
Mm-hmm. Quality time.
And physical touch.
Yes. So those are the 5 different love languages. So basically what the book is about is that everyone has a primary and usually a secondary love language, and that's how we feel loved. So, for instance, you like quality time, right? That's one of your...
I think we each have different
ones. Yes.
You can have multiple love languages, mm-hmm. and I've realized I have more than just quality time.
Right.
Did you say quality time already?
Yeah, it's okay. That's like one of your I feel like a primary for
quality time is probably my primary.
Yes.
So another one is physical touch.
Right. So that's how you feel loved.
Yes.
And so I think one of the most interesting parts of this book for me was realizing that the way you feel loved is how you're also going to show love, but that doesn't mean that's my primary love language. Right. So if you're like, oh, we're spending plenty of time together, this is great, you're feeling loved. For me, mine are acts of service and gifts. I think we have a hard time figuring me out, and it just is what it is, right? But I think those are mine. And so a lot of times then it's leaving me, when you're like, oh, we're spending all this great time together. And I'm like, well, where's my gift? So it's just very interesting how we speak one language, but our partner may not speak the same language.
I think we struggled at the beginning of this because how you were saying that we both filled our own love language.
Right.
And I remember that, like for example, remember how you would give me gifts on Christmas?
Yes, this is the example. Yes.
So the thing is, I don't like surprises. I don't know why. I just don't like surprises. No. I rather pick my own gift. Mm-hmm. So when you got me some of the gifts that you got me on let's say, I think it was Amazon or whatever, mm-hmm. I was kind of disappointed.
Yeah, you were, because it wasn't exactly what you had wanted. And so for me, it was like, well, it wasn't even, because you'll be like, oh, I put stuff on the Amazon wish list for Christmas. And I'm like, I don't care, because I will get you what I want to get you, because that's my love language. But you hate it. So this is probably like one of our biggest arguments,
during the holidays.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and we've never talked about it, because his birthday is Christmas Eve. Then we have Christmas Day, and then my birthday is New Year's Day. Yep. So our birthdays and Christmas are all together. I mean, I think God maybe did that on purpose, because then we have one time of year where our love languages do not sync up, and I get real frustrated. So I just focus on giving gifts to other people, and then just getting you whatever you want off your Amazon wish list. I guess.
Yeah.
It's very hard for me. But throughout the year, sometimes I like to get you little things.
And you've done well a few times with gifts.
Name one.
Oh, the jacket you just recently got me.
Yeah,
You bought me a jacket. Yeah, I like it. It looks good. It's something I'd buy.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, so I think we struggled with our love
Mhm.
languages at first, and I think that we're now becoming more aware of what we enjoy from each
Yeah.
other. And actually, it's been helpful because I feel like our relationship has grown a little bit more, creates more like fulfillment
Right.
within each other.
Right. You feel like once you understand the other person's love language, then you're really getting to know them, getting to know their heart, getting to know them more at a deeper level. So if you're only just looking at your own love language and what you want and what fulfills you, then it's not going to create a good relationship. So I think that's really a lot of times what this book comes down to is, I mean, you can read this book and you can tell me what your love language is and I can tell you what mine is. But if we don't make small changes towards doing each other's love language, then this book's for nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
So it comes down to behavior change a lot of times. I actually recently had a conversation with a client who asked me if I knew about the 5 love languages. I was like, oh, yeah. And it was a thing where her and her husband had read it, but they weren't necessarily putting those changes into practice. So it became frustrating when like I know you know what my love language is, and I know what your love language is, but we're not making small changes towards feeding each other,
And I think that it gets hard because we're like selfish people. I'm more selfish than you. But yes, it's hard to adapt to that change. It's hard to start making those changes because we're not used to really serving that person or really thinking of them as much as we think about ourselves, right? Well, I mean, you do really well with thinking about us, and so. But yeah, like I think you're saying your whoever was your friend.
Client, yeah.
I think it just comes down to making an effort.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, I was thinking about this before we started the podcast, and it was just everything in our lives is really, if we want to make any kind of change, we have to look at the behavior change model, right?
Oh, yeah.
You can't just go, okay, I know your love language, so now I'm going to just jump all in and do everything to make you feel loved, because it's not going to work. One, it may not feel authentic. It may not be sustainable. So it's one of those things, like even when you're talking about getting healthier and having healthier habits, you have to make small changes and then see those changes become habits, and then from there make next change. And so I think that's very applicable when it comes to our marriage and filling each other's love tank. Like, it may be a thing where if quality time is the thing your spouse likes, and I like alone time a lot of times. And so it's one of those things like, no, like I need, we need to be together. It's the best thing for our marriage. So maybe you just start like 15 to 20 minutes of time together, really good quality time. And then that grows over time. And then you it becomes a normal thing. And like now, if we don't spend time together at night, that feels weird to me. So you will grow and it will change you, if you start making those little habit changes, and that makes your marriage better. So,
do you feel like when you're doing or when you're fulfilling my love language, do you feel like you're authentic with it, or do you feel like it's just kind of like it's not genuine?
No, I do think it is authentic. It's honestly, though, putting yourself aside, because like I said, a lot of times at the end of the day, we have small children. It can get really busy. You get really distracted. You get tired. We work out, all that stuff. And so sometimes there's a part of me that's like, alone time would be nice, but, but I know I need to spend that time with you. So it's not that it's not authentic. It's that it's just putting your selfishness and your selfish needs aside. And I know that, like, I'll get alone time, another time or whatever. And so it's putting yourself aside for your spouse.
So you wouldn't say quality time is yours? I thought quality time was yours.
Again, I'm very confusing. I think quality time is one of mine as well, because I think about some of my like friendships and things like that. Like, I really like that one-on-one time. I think, it's that we've talked about it, being known. Like, I don't know which that's why I land on receiving gifts.
Receiving gifts.
Because for me, it's if you truly know me, you'll be able to get me something that you know that I'll appreciate. Like the other day, you were going to bring me coffee to work. The coffee shop was closed, which was sad. But you know, like you knew that if you brought me coffee, that was going to fill my love tank, and that's something because you know I love coffee, and you were coming to pick up Eli. So
don't know, like you have different kinds of love languages, and
right.
but receiving gifts is one of your main ones because like I've noticed like this is where I kind of struggle with because I have to think outside the box. I have to make sure that I'm using my brain and really just trying to figure it out because I think I'm still struggling with that just because it doesn't come easy for me just to like figure out, oh, what does Jody want? Because your brain's complicated. Women's brains are complicated. Well, because you want us to think more.
Right. Well, and I think too, like what is it? Like I want to be known by you. Like I want you to understand me. So some days it might be a thing of like bringing me a gift would be great. Doing the laundry would be great. Spending quality time with me would be great. Or, you know, like understanding where I'm at or where my day is at. And I know that is complicated. But I don't know if maybe other women are like that too, or just other people are like that. But just having your partner, your spouse understand what your day is like and what's going to be the most fulfilling for you, and knowing that and seeing that in me actually I think is what speaks to me. So if it's like a day where I'm like all touched out by the kids and like I've just had a really busy day, a little bit of alone time might be what I need. Does that make sense? So it's like understanding my needs and knowing who I am and what I kind of need. So I need you to be like a genie in a bottle or something. And like every day assess my needs. And then...
Well, I think I do well with seeing like how your energy is through the day. So I know that if you're with the kids all day, I will step in and you know play with them and hang out with them. So I do good with that. I do good with that. I think the receiving gifts is the one that I really struggle with. So it just like I said, it's just more complicated for men to think more.
Which one of these? So there's the 5 of them: words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, physical touch. Which one do you think is like? Is there for you one that's just like it doesn't do anything for you?
Receiving gifts for sure.
Great.
Yeah, receiving gifts is just because I enjoy getting gifts, but I enjoy getting my own.
This is breaking my heart, y'all.
Like I said, it's just I like to get my own thing. I know exactly what I want, and I usually get disappointed if
What if I just give you a gift of cash? Then you can buy your own thing.
Yeah, but I think words of affirmation is up there too because I think a lot of men have this as their love language because we like to hear praise. We like to know that we're doing a good job, or we like to know from you or from you that you know we're strong. You're strong man.
Yes. Every time I need a jar opened, I have to say, "Can you open this jar for me, my big strong man?"
No, you don't. Come on. No. But yes, words of affirmation I think is pretty common for us guys, just because, like I said, we like to hear those kind of words. Yeah. And you suck at doing that.
I know, because that's one that's up for me. Like words of affirmation, for some reason, mean nothing.
And I realize I do that.
And that's so weird.
I realize I do that to you.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Like tell me, you know, that you appreciate me and like all these different things. And honestly, it just goes in one ear and out the other because it's not, for some reason, that big of a love language for me.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, like we said earlier, it's our own.
Yeah.
But that's coming from a genuine place because I do appreciate you. Right. You know, I do appreciate everything you do. Yeah. So.
So it does take, like we said before, it takes stepping outside of yourself to really fill the love tank of your spouse, which takes thought, which takes intentionality, which takes behavior change. Like, you know, I've seen different people that have maybe like every morning. I think I saw one woman, like every time her husband came home, she greeted him at the door with a hug and a kiss, like for a month. And it just changed their relationship. Oh. You know, like if he was probably like a quality or a physical touch person. So she did that. And then, you know, it became a habit and it became something that they both enjoyed, and it, you know, it made their marriage even better. So just those being intentional, while I think sometimes you look at that as it's not authentic because it's not something that you would normally do in a marriage. Like you have to start making those changes, whether they're, if they're not what you would normally do, in order for them to become something that is a habit. And then, then it's coming from an authentic place down the road. But you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, so. And I think I asked you that one time whether, remember when you came up and just would hug me, and I'm like, is that actually you appreciating what I've been doing, or is it just something that you're doing because of that's my love language? So that's where I'm just like, is she actually doing it because she's genuine? That's what I was asking you. That.
Yeah.
So I think you can get trapped in that, because for me, I'm like, are you being authentic? If not, then that really bugs me, because I don't like people who aren't authentic. So so that's where that's kind of hard there.
Yeah, but I do think that a lot of couples are brought together with opposites. Like you're not going to necessarily be with your person that's exactly the way you are. I think that's, I don't know.
Boring.
It just seems like that's how it really is. It's how God has brought people together, is for that balance. And so, if you're only looking for authentic behavior, I think that's, it's not going to work, or else you're just not going to get words of affirmation or hugs or whatever. But I mean, I do it whenever I see you doing the dishes, or like stepping up and doing other things, like giving you a hug and stuff. That is coming from a genuine place. That's instead of the words of affirmation, which are harder for me. It's the physical, like, I love you, thank you for being you. So
yeah, let's read something out of this, just so that we can share some of this book. Okay. Oh, well, this is 3/22/20, day after marriage. Oh. Whoa, we wrote this in. Okay, so Jody's request: be more present after work. Put phone away.
Still my request.
3 years ago. Clean up after yourself. I don't remember that.
Is that what I put? Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta read mine.
Okay, Tim's request: let me focus when working on a task. Do I talk too much? And then be more productive with evening time. Do, like, example, reading a book or talking instead of like TV.
Instead of TV, yeah. Yeah, it's crazy that we wrote that.
Let me focus when working on a task.
Yeah.
Let me focus when working on
a task. Let's see here.
Interesting.
So let's read something here. Okay. If your marriage is in serious trouble, discussed in this chapter, you need to begin by making strong commitment of the will to undertake the following experiment. You risk further pain and rejection, but you also stand to regain a healthy and fulfilling marriage. Count the cost; it's worth the attempt. So, so yeah, like marriage. Like we were talking earlier, maybe another podcast, how marriage is work, and how like you guys, we are committed, so we can't bail. We can't.
Right.
We can't just leave the marriage. We have to really work on it if you want it. If you want to work on it.
Right.
And really, it comes down to working on yourself. Like I can't change you. If, let's say, we're having a rough patch and you're just completely ignoring me, or just getting distant from me, I can't control that. I can't control what you do. So the only thing I can do is control myself. And how can I get you to come back to meet me in the middle? It's by just me showing more love, or me showing more care. It's just me giving more to you. Right. Because when you give more, you receive more, right? What do you think about all that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's spot on. Like when you, you can't change the other person, but there is a difference that you can see if you change your own perspective about the situation. Maybe you're in an argument where there's an argument, and if you change your perspective, or if you soften your heart to your spouse, then you can come to them and be like, all right, like, I would like to talk about this, or instead of having like a harsh response. Or again, if you know their love language, you can do things. Yeah, you gotta step outside of yourself, though. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that you have to put yourself aside in order to make marriage work.
And I think the thing is that we are stubborn. We don't like to admit, especially guys, we don't like to admit when we're wrong. And it really takes just a humbling heart to come before your spouse, before you, and say, let's just work this out. You know, we're wrong. I was wrong. Let's work this out. Let's try to figure this out and move on. But we get stuck. And we can get stuck for days or weeks. You and I faced that before, where we just get stuck, and I don't want to talk to you.
Right. I don't want to talk to you.
And the more distance we have in each other, the more we're going to just separate.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how marriages end, is just separation, distancing, lack of communication. There's a verse in the Bible in Proverbs that talks about before destruction, there's pride, or pride comes before destruction. Yeah. So it's that letting go of the pride and humbling yourself so that you can get back on track.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good note to end on. Actually, right there. That's awesome. But yeah, I think if anyone hasn't read this book, go ahead and get a copy, because it's something that I don't think people should read just once, right? If you want to read it for the head knowledge, great. But like he just, talked about, there are different experiments, different things that you can do together to help you start making those behavior changes so you can start filling each other's love tanks. So I do think it is, hopefully you don't think it's been overly used, because it has been used a lot, but I think there's really good advice for keeping your marriage strong.
I would definitely recommend this book, because it definitely has changed our relationship, and it really has helped me understand you more. And I think that's just, the more you understand each other, the better the relationship will be. So definitely recommend this. So all right, I think that's gonna wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and we will talk to you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
Peace.